Today we're going to be looking at a pretty rare and obscure Plants vs. Zombies plush set. And well, not a lot of people know about this plush set, but it has some pretty weird looking plushes in it. So with that said, welcome to a look at the Nici Plants vs. Zombies plush set. Now let's start off with the first plush set being the Peashooter. Now the Peashooter's leaf base is basically an exact copy of Linkson's leaf base, and same thing with the stem. And well, it makes sense why it looks similar to Linkson's as well, but this one's kind of a bootleg set. So there are a few plushes in this set that are actually kind of like fully based off of Linkson's plushes. But yeah, the head shape on this plush is basically the exact same as Linkson's, except the eyes are stitched further down near the shooter part of the Peashooter. And the leaf on the back of the head is overall for some reason really high up. Like, I don't really know why they stitched it up that high instead of being in the middle of the head. So that's probably the only inaccurate thing about this plush, but besides that, the rest of it overall looks pretty good. And well, this plush can't really get damaged unless if the stem gets under stuff, but that's really the only thing that could actually get damaged on this plush. But yeah, overall, especially for a Linkson bootleg, it overall looks pretty good. And if you want, this plush is pretty weird, but you could look on eBay or Zanu, but it'll probably take a while to show up. And now let's go on to the next plush, that being the Sunflower. Now the Sunflower uses the exact same leaf base and stem as the Peashooter, except it doesn't have a ring on the stem. And well, the Sunflower face is overall a pretty weird looking color as well, but it's really not that much of a brown color. It's kind of like an orangish brown color. And well, but it's actually not supposed to be like that, so that's one weird inaccuracy about it, but besides that, the rest of the face overall looks pretty good. And well, once again, just like the Peashooter, is basically an exact copy of the Linkson variant. Well, this one's even more an exact copy as well. Basically, every single detail on this plush is stolen from Linkson's design. And well, the petal around the Sunflower's head could get damaged as well. They're made out of some very delicate material, but yeah, it's overall basically an exact copy of Linkson's variant. And well, just like the Peashooter, the only really easily damageable thing on this plush is that the stem could get understuffed over the years. But yeah, just like the Peashooter, this plush is overall pretty rare, so if you want it, you could look on eBay or Zanu, but once again, it'll be pretty hard to find. And now let's move on to the next plush set being the Chomper. Now this plush is obviously stolen from the first design of the Linkson Chomper, except this one overall looks pretty strange. The reason for that is that, well, the face is overall a lot smaller than the Linkson's version, so it's a lot more squished together, and all the details kind of look really weird. And well, the reason for that is that they tried to fit a bunch of small details into a very small spot, so it overall made the plush overall looking really weird. The spikes on the top of the Chomper's head are also really small because the head is really small, so it makes it look even weirder than it already looks. But yeah, the football zombie in the Chomper's mouth is made out of a felt material, so it could get bent and damaged over the years, and well, the stem, just like the other plushes, could get understuffed over the years. And well, the leaf face is the exact same as the Peashooter and Sunflowers, and well, is basically an exact copy of Linkson's, except they made it much worse. As well, if they wanted to make this plush look better, they should have made it a bit bigger so they could fit all the details and make them look nice on the plush. But yeah, this plush is extremely rare, so if you want it, you could look on eBay or Zanu, but I was only able to find one image of it, so yeah, it's probably one of the rarest in the whole set. And well, now let's move on to the next plush set being the Jalapeno. Now this probably has to be one of the strangest plushes in the set as well, but it kind of copies Linkson's variant, except not really. As well, but uses the same sort of design, except this version of the plush overall just looks really weird. First off, the jalapeno shape on this plush just doesn't really look like a jalapeno that much as well. For some reason, it's really wide in the middle. So since the details on this plush in the middle are overall really wide, and well, the eyes are actually slightly further down on this plush than they're supposed to be, it makes the jalapeno overall look really weird. And well, instead of putting the face at the top of the plush like they were supposed to, they kind of put it in the middle, which made it overall look even weirder than it already did. Now, the embroidery on the face doesn't look too bad, it's that they didn't position them the correct way, so the smaller eye is actually way too small and also in the wrong place. As well, the smaller eye is supposed to be a little bit bigger and also slightly further up. And well, for some reason the jalapeno on this plush is basically falling off the lily pad. As well, unlike the Linkson version where just the bottom of it's hanging off, this one actually is halfway off the lily pad, so yeah, it overall makes it look even weirder. And well, for some reason the lily pad on this plush has dimples in it, which makes it look super weird looking. I actually don't know why they did that as well, but it doesn't really add anything to the plush. But yeah, the lily pad itself is overall pretty big and overall looks pretty weird. But yeah, overall this jalapeno plush is just super inaccurate and was just really not that good of a plush. And well, I could barely even consider this a copy of the Linkson variant, as well it's so different because well, so many of the details on it are just inaccurate. But yeah, if you want this plush, you can look on eBay or Zanu, and this one's slightly more findable than the Chomper as well, you can actually find a good amount of images of it as well, but shown up a few times. And now let's move on to the next plush set being the Squash. Now, just like plushes like the Sunflower and Peashooter, this one's basically an exact copy of the Lynxen version. And while the Squash plush overall looks pretty good, it has all the correct details on it since it's copying the Lynxen version, so it overall looks pretty nice. And while they did a good job making it so the Squash kind of looks 3D and has the right amount of definition to it. And while the Squash's face overall looks pretty good as well, all the embroidery on it is accurate and overall looks pretty nice, even though it's basically an exact copy of the Lynxen variant, so that's probably why it looks good. And the stem on the top of this plush is also really accurate because it overall is a very simple detail. But yeah, there really isn't a lot to say about the Squash plush as well. It's basically an exact copy of the Lynxen version, except the color on it's a slightly darker green, and the Lynxen one's a slightly lighter green. But yeah, just like other plushes, it says basically an exact copy of the Lynxen variant, and if you want it, you could look on eBay or Zanu, but it's overall extremely rare because I could only find one image of it. And now let's move on to the next plush, set being the Starfruit. And unlike the last few plushes, this one's actually not a copy of the Lynxen plush, it's actually copied from another bootleg plush. Now, this bootleg design of Starfruit has basically been used on every single bootleg Starfruit plush, so it's very hard to tell which is which as well. Basically, since one bootleg company used this design, every single other bootleg company has also used it. So it's very hard to tell which is which, but this one actually looks to be made out of a slightly different material. And I can't really tell based off of the picture quality, but it kind of looks different than normal plush material, and especially because the stem actually looks like a slightly different material than the rest of the plush. And all the facial details don't really seem to be embroidered on, so yeah, I don't really know what this plush is made out of, but it's probably not normal plush material like the rest of the set. But yeah, overall, the details on the face look pretty weird, especially because it's not really an accurate design of the bootleg. Which makes me wonder why bootleg companies use this design as well, but it's really not that accurate to the normal Starfruit plush, but either way, it still overall looks pretty good. But yeah, overall, this plush seems to be pretty nicely stuffed, and if you want it, you could look on eBay or Zanu, but there's a very low chance of finding it, because just like the Squash and Chomper, there's only one image of it that I could find. And now let's move on to the next plush set, being the Cattail. Now, the Cattail plushie set isn't actually based off of the Lynxen version, it's actually based off of the limited edition Cattail. And the leaf base on this plush overall looks pretty good, and it doesn't actually have the same exact dimples as the limited edition Cattail. And this plush is also a lot bigger than the limited edition Cattail, so it doesn't seem to be an exact bootleg, but just kind of one that's based off of it. But yeah, the head shape on this plush overall looks pretty good, except the hat's actually the wrong color, as it's supposed to be a pink color, but it's actually more of a purplish color on this plush. And the embroidery on the face overall looks pretty good, and it has a plastic nose, except the nose could actually get really understuffed over the years as well, but it doesn't really seem they stuffed it that well. So the nose could kind of get weird looking over the years, especially because it could get flat to the face. And the Cattail also has a mouth that's embroidered on, the overall looks pretty good, and was actually a very small detail. And the tail on this plush is also inaccurate as well, but it's the same purplish color as the hat, and also the spike on the Cattail isn't actually red, it's actually the same purplish color, so yeah, the tail on this plush is actually pretty inaccurate. And it also seems just like the nose, the tail could get understuffed over the years pretty easily. But yeah, if you want this plush, you can look on eBay or Zanu, but it's overall not that bad of a plush, except it is pretty rare, and there's actually been a few images of it and a few listings of it, so you might be able to get it. And now let's move on to the next plush set, being the Apple Bomb. Now, the Apple Bomb plush is based off of the Lynxen variant, it overall looks pretty similar to it. The leaf base on this plush is the exact same as the Peashooter and Sunflowers, and same thing with the stem. Just like the others, the stem on this plush could get understuffed over the years. The only really weird looking part about this plush is that the head of it's for some reason really squished in some plushes. As on some versions of this plush is actually like a normal head shape, but on others it's a very squished look. So yeah, it just kind of matters based off of which plush you get, but sometimes it could overall look pretty weird. The eyes are embroidered on, have felt material inside of them, which could actually collect dust and debris and get damaged. But another thing that I noticed about the eyes on this plush is that the embroidery sometimes doesn't color the whole yellow parts, so sometimes it could seem like the eyes are actually coming out of the embroidery, which looks pretty weird. But yeah, besides a few details on the face being slightly inaccurate in some plushes, the rest of the plush overall looks pretty good. Once again, like other plushes, it's basically an exact copy of the Lynxen variant, so that's probably why it looks good. But yeah, if you want this plush, you can look on eBay or Zanu, but it'll be pretty hard to find. But yeah, which plush is your favorite? Comment that down below, and yeah, have a great day.